So Public Enterprises Minister Pravin Gordhan has revealed to Newzroom Afrika that former Eskom CEO under Ruyter did tell him about corruption at Eskom. However, he says Ruyter did not bring any evidence to support his claims or mention any names. The ANC is now calling on the former Eskom boss to lay criminal charges against those who he says are involved. Let's unpack the implications moving forward. Bring in Advocate Mahlodi Muofhe, who's the former head of the State Security Agency's domestic branch, now our ambassador to South Sudan, and is live to us from that country this morning. Lovely to have you on the program as always, Advocate Muofhe. Thanks for making time. I wonder if you've been able to watch that interview with our Govan Whittles and Pravin Gordhan. If you haven't, essentially, part of what Pravin Gordhan has said is that the conversation about ANC officials milking Eskom did happen. However, as far as he's concerned, Pravin Gordhan says he couldn't move forward on the basis of what he just said are allusions in that conversation. Is that good enough?
To be honest, Ian, and good morning to you and your viewers, Minister Gordhan would not have been in a position to go and open up a criminal case without any shred of proof. He was best honest to prove. And Andre de Ruyter, as the CEO of Eskom, he is bound in terms of his fiduciary duties to go to the nearest police station to open up a case where he gets to know that there is corruption taking place in Eskom, or where anybody, doesn't matter whether that person is senior from any political party or anywhere, comes to him or not. If that person comes to him, Andre de Ruyter, the onus is on him. And I'll give a simple example. When I was head of domestic intelligence, State Security Agency, when whistleblowers came to me with information of corruption at the agency, I was the head. I couldn't shift the blame to anybody. There was no way in which I would have gone to the minister. She was not a police officer. I went straight to Little 10 Subs police station and opened up those criminal cases as it's in the public domain now. And Andre de Ruyter is a lawyer, so he knows exactly what he's doing. And he knew that at some point he will have to explain to us, the public, who paid him through our taxes a lot of money when he got to Eskom, to basically bring Eskom to proper governance and deliver electricity, something which he failed dismally to do.
Are we then suggesting that Pravin Gordhan wasn't expected to do anything after that conversation?
I am saying, I saw the interview, and Minister Gordhan actually said that if you don't have any evidence, Ayanda, what will you go to the police station and open a case? You have to have at least some form of evidence to enable the police to open up a case that they can investigate. Now, according to Minister Gordhan, correctly so, I would have said the same thing. Andre, please give me some evidence. But I would also have said, as the minister to Andre, please, Andre, you're the CEO, go to the nearest police station and open up a criminal case, because you are duty-bound in terms of the law to go and report any criminal offense. You don't need any concurrence from the minister to go and report a criminal offense. So, the director, honestly, on this one, he dropped the ball. He should have gone to the police and opened up a criminal case. But I think my take, honestly, on this saga of Andre de Ruyter is, since his appointment, he really didn't deliver anything, and I think he was paid a lot of money, and he's got a problem of trying to show his failures. That's all he's got to do, really. Come up and say, I was appointed. If there's one CEO was supported by government, is Andre de Ruyter. He asked for money, he was given money, and we still continued on a downward spiral of load shedding up until he gave up.
So what? Andre de Ruyter is using this to shift the blame for his failures at Eskom?
He's actually shifting the blame of his failures at Eskom, and he knows how gullible and vulnerable South Africans are, that all he had to do was to go and do that interview And as it is now, everybody, especially this is a pre-election year, everybody is running all over the show, going to open up criminal cases against Andre de Ruyter and instead of basically allowing the law enforcement agencies, I'm sure, who are by right supposed to be seized with this matter, because the law enforcement agencies by now should be saying this man breached his fiduciary duties by concealing a criminal conduct which was taking place in the organization he headed as the CEO. That's a criminal offense that he has committed. I mean, you don't when you see a crime taking place and keep it in your chest for the day when you will be leaving, and then from there you come out with it as if it's a bombshell. I think he's basically diverting attention from him, and I guess he understands the situation and he thinks that, and I think he's achieving the desired results. I hope that he won't leave the country before he accounts himself, because as we are busy going this way or that way, the guy may just well be out of the country.
I hear that, but is it entirely fair, though, Advocate Muofhe, especially because we do know of the kind of relationship that the ANC has had with Eskom, especially if the State Capital Commission of Inquiry is anything to go by? I mean, people who heard that, with that context, did not think it far-fetched at all to have senior government officials still benefiting illegally from Eskom, especially because it's also widely known and reported that there are people at Eskom currently who are working to milk the utility, essentially, and that's why we're saddled, in part, with the energy crisis.
Yeah, which is true. We are saddled with this problem which started from way back. But reality is that as South Africans, we have to hold hands and find solutions to resolve this problem. I mean, Andre de Ruyter was brought in as a way of saying this man can actually save us from this load shedding. I mean, he came with, he's got a colorful CV, an MBA, he's supposedly a specialist in repurposing institutions and all sorts of things. So I think at the time everybody thought it was a great catch, even though, I mean, he left his previous company under a cloud of non-performance. But be that as it may, he was given all the support. Honestly, there's no ways in which Andre de Ruyter can say he didn't get the support. He needed money. It was pumped into Eskom, and he just didn't deliver anything. And I think that's what we live with.
What's your response to those who say we can walk and chew at the same time? There can be a conversation about Andre de Ruyter's performance over the years gone by, at least as his time as CEO, and simultaneously there can be a parallel conversation around trying to find those who are still hell-bent on breaking the back of the power utility. Those two things aren't mutually exclusive. They certainly can both be true at the same time.
My understanding is that the law enforcement agencies, and I know so, that they're busy investigating all the cases emanating from the Zondo Commission, and even before the Zondo Commission, some law enforcement agencies have been hard at work, doing some work at Eskom. I can tell you, for example, the Special Investigating Unit, which I worked for the longest period, has been doing a lot of work at Eskom. Now, we are in South Africa in a situation where we just don't want to give the law enforcement agencies time and space to do their job without hindering them. The slightest provocation which takes place, this one or that one will say, no, this one must come to Parliament to account, or this one will run to a police station to open up a case. When we know that the law enforcement agencies should, by right and in terms of the law, be the ones now having an interest in what Andre de Ruyter said in that interview. And reality is that, in all fairness, Andre de Ruyter knew that he'll want this outcome. And indeed, we're playing into his forte.
People might ask whether we should be surprised that South Africans are skeptical around whether law enforcement officials can be left to their own devices, as it were, to see this through the way they need to. But let's speak a bit more about the kind of moral responsibilities that lie on different individuals at the moment. Scenario planning, say Andre de Ruyter doesn't say anything to law enforcement officials. What responsibility then does Pravin Gordhan have, given the fact that he knows something about possible corruption that might have taken place at Eskom? This idea of being an accessory after the fact because of information at your disposal.
Yeah, I think you do not understand that principle. Reality is that if I don't have any evidence before me, and it happened even when I was the head of intelligence at the State Security Agency, that whistleblowers who came to me without evidence, I told them that please give me evidence. If I don't have evidence, I mean prima facie evidence that which on perusal myself I'm able to say these are the cardinal elements of a crime, and here is a crime, and I have some evidence. Because I have to enable the police to investigate, having something to work from. But if somebody comes and understanding how things work generally, even in the private sector or everywhere else, somebody can just come and throw a lie and say, hey, I stole a computer at Newzroom, and I rush and open up a criminal case at the police station. And when they say, but where is the evidence? I don't have anything except that somebody told me that I stole a computer at Newzroom. Reality is that if Andre was saying he gave the minister all the evidence, something which in any case I'll still ask somebody in Andre's boots who is a lawyer, I wouldn't even understand why must he go to a minister, because he must go to the police. The only people who are tasked by law to investigate any criminal conduct are the police.
Who do you reckon ought to make the next move if the truth is going to come out? I mean, there's also a conversation around whether or not law enforcement officials, on the basis of these two interviews, have enough to act.
As I'm saying, that law enforcement agencies, by all accounts, they've also been in a position to watch Andre's interview, and it must be of interest to them. Basically on the basis that you are talking about criminal conduct which occurred at Eskom when you were CEO, and you are duty-bound to report that to the police. And then let's take it up from there, because he is basically supposed to be the accused number one here before he enjoins others. Then you can bring them as well. But reality is that if you are CEO of a company in a country where there is load shedding, I mean, everybody honestly is tired of load shedding, and you are the CEO, you have a dashboard of everything which is happening there. Not even the board would be privy to issues which you know, because every day you are employed to go to work and make sure that you protect the interest of the institution you work for. But that's not what he was doing. He was busy collating information as if he's some intelligence officer for the day, perhaps like this time around. But now everything is water under the bridge now, really. I mean, he's gone, he has resigned, he was paid a lot of money, he didn't deliver anything, and I suppose that the law enforcement agencies should be looking at that man. At least that should be the starting point, that they must find him, they must talk to him, and then they must obtain statements from him. You know, the issues of this one or that one running to go and open up a criminal case there, I guess it's a pre-election year, so people will do those things.
So much more to be said, and I imagine that's exactly what's going to happen on the back of this interview. Advocate Mahlodi Muofhe, thanks very much indeed for speaking to us. Appreciate your time. Advocate Muofhe speaking to us there in his capacity as the former head of the domestic branch at the State Security Agency. Once again, thanks very much indeed.